my friends, how are you? Sean Ferrick here for What Culture, and we are going to go through all the ups and downs for The Last of Us Season 2. That is right, the second season has arrived and I am very, very excited. Big fan of Season 1, let's see how Season 2 goes, shall we? Just for those of you who may be new to this, we are going to go through everything that we liked and give it an up, and everything that we didn't like, we're going to give it a down. Clues in the name, nice and straightforward, ups, downs, you with me? Cool. Thank you to everyone as well who has been pitching in and clamoring for these videos because we are so excited to bring this to you. If you haven't seen episode 1 of season 2 yet, called Future Days, what are you doing? Pause this video here, go and watch it, and then come back to us. It's all right, no, I'll wait for you, it's fine, it's fine.
You okay?
Yeah.
And with that, one of the most anticipated TV returns in recent years is in the books. After a 2-year gap, The Last of Us has kicked off its sophomore season with Future Days. It's a tough spot to be in because there was always going to be a huge anticipation for the long-awaited next chapter in the story, but with a 5-year gap, new plot lines and characters to introduce and building blocks to lay down, it was always going to be something of a slow burner. Certainly not the explosive start that season 1 enjoyed. However, what audiences were given in their return to Jackson was a solid, if unspectacular, episode that sets the scene for the remaining 6 to come. There was action, certainly, but this was more about moving certain chess pieces into place, something that subsequent episodes should benefit from. That being said, there was a lot to enjoy about The Last of Us's return, even if no one will ever call it their favorite episode. We're going to start with the downs, some of which are minor, but they are downs. So needless to say, heavy spoilers for this episode to follow, okay? I'm Sean Ferrick for What Culture, and here's all of the ups and downs for The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1, Future Days. Okay, coming straight in with a down, shifting from the source material. So the first season of The Last of Us was applauded for staying so true to the video game, from which it was adapted. Sure, there were some minor detail changes here and there, some stories and characters were further expanded or left behind, but largely the main beats of the story were present. With such an outstanding source material to draw from, why would the showrunners look to do anything different? Well, episode 1 of season 2 has already planted the seeds to potentially stray away from The Last of Us Part 2. There were a couple of huge moments in Future Days that could lead the story astray, from Ellie being bitten by the infected woman in the supermarket to Cordyceps seemingly finding its way within the gates of Jackson. There are always gonna be changes when a video game is adapted, and it's important not to get too hung up on them, as the show is its own entity, and as such it's gonna have differences. But these could be the wrong kinds of differences. This is very much a tentative down that could be proven wrong over the coming weeks and episodes, and hopefully so. But right now, it feels as though these changes may take away from the story rather than improve it. And we're gonna go with our next down, which is introducing Abby too early. Of course, players of The Last of Us Part 2 know who Abby is, and even for these going into the second season completely unaware of the story, Caitlin Deaver's character has been featured prominently in the marketing material. After a brief re-showing of the final scene of season 1, in which Pedro Pascal's Joel swears to Ellie that he was telling the truth about the Fireflies, Abby and her group are shown mourning the graves of those he killed in the hospital. She is then, in no uncertain terms, spelling out her desire not only to see Joel killed, but for it to be as slow and painful as possible. The group doesn't show up again until the final shot of the episode, as they see the lights of Jackson, Wyoming from afar. This moment on its own would have made for a more powerful introduction without the initial scene and exposition at the start. The mystery of who Abby is and what exactly she is after worked incredibly well in the game, and it feels as though the show's robbed itself of that right off the bat. I think less could have been more here. Our next down is for a misleading title. As much as it's important not to live and die by comparisons to the game, after all, there will be a huge percentage of the audience who have no frame of reference against which to compare, it's difficult not to at times, particularly when something as simple as an episode title feels as though it's bringing you down a certain path, only to end in disappointment. Season 2's opener is titled Future Days, something that clearly has meaning to Joel and Maria's conversation about how to house everyone in Jackson, particularly when she told him that he is part of the town's future too. However, in the game, those two words have a much greater significance. After opening up to Ellie about wanting to be a singer once settled in Jackson, Joel took his guitar to her and played. He sang an incredibly moving, powerful version of Pearl Jam's Future Days that spoke to how much she meant to him, particularly with how prominent Ellie's guitar was in the first few moments she shared with Joel on screen this season. It was slightly disappointing when the credits rolled without hearing Pedro Pascal's take on the song. Again, this is a minor gripe, as this scene will likely and hopefully be included at some point, but the episode titled Future Days feels like a missed opportunity. I want to give an up to the new characters. We're going to move away from the downs and we're going to get to what made this episode an overall success, starting with the new additions to the show. Joining the likes of Joel and Ellie and Rutina Wesley's Maria, we get Tommy, played by Gabriel Luna, and there are a handful of strong characters brought straight across from the source material. The first to be seen was Jesse, a role in which young Mazzino appears to have been perfectly cast. He runs the thin line between being friends with Ellie and kind of her boss and authority figure, which is a tough balance to find. Then there's Dina. Isabella Merced's character right out of the gate looks to be a show-stealing highlight, and there's no reason to think this will change over the course of the season. She's funny, she gels incredibly well with Ellie, a relationship that will of course evolve in time, and it's utterly charming, incredibly similar to her counterpart in the game. The surface barely scratched on the likes of Abby, Owen, Manny, Nora, and Mel, which, as said before, may have been too much in itself. Their time will come. And another up now to a wonderful original character. Season 2 so far has done a great job of bringing to life Jesse and Dina, but they weren't the only ones who made their series debut in Future Days. It's all well and good bringing characters across from the games to the show, but to introduce a completely original character can be tricky. Season 1 had Kathleen and Perry, played by Melanie Lynskey and Jeffrey Pierce, the freedom fighters who wanted Henry's, remember Lamar Johnson on that fun episode? Remember they wanted his head in a spike? While Season 2 has got Gale, the therapist who rocked up to her session with Joel with a bottle of whiskey in hand has wasted no time in staking her claim to become a fan favorite. I mean, for starters, she's played by Catherine O'Hara. God, I love her. And she is so much more than simply a sounding board to portray Joel's inner thoughts and feelings to the character. She's a funny badass who clearly isn't gonna take any shit from Joel, but there's tragedy there too that will seemingly be explored at least a little later in the season, maybe in this video. But she's abrasive towards Joel in their session, having no interest in what she called the most boring problem in the world, a 19-year-old acting out against her father figure. She seemed to be sympathetic after seeing it firsthand at the New Year's party. The story will be leaving Jackson before too long, but hopefully don't leave Gale behind. Our next up is for different character dynamics. With new characters comes the opportunity to see different people interacting together, the most obvious of these being Ellie and Dina. Of course, she had friends with the likes of Sam and Riley in Season 1, but this is the first time since then that Ellie has really opened herself up in a relationship that will not only last, but grow. The same can be said about her dynamic with Jesse, and completing this particular triangle, Jesse's relationship with Dina. The latter is also close to Joel and is someone who he admitted acts more like a daughter to him than Ellie. Season 2 has also immediately given more time to seeing Ellie interact with Tommy, as the two of them went out shooting together. Since she is basically a smaller version of Joel, there was no doubt that this was going to be fun to watch. I think arguably the most surprising of these new dynamics was seeing Joel as the fun uncle to Tommy and Maria's son, Benjamin. Yes, he came more and more out of his shell with Ellie since they were thrown together by Marlene, but there was something about seeing him play with his 5-year-old nephew that was heartwarming on a whole new level. Saying that, another up must go to Joel being haunted by his past. Joel may be in the best place he's been in since he lost Sarah over 25 years earlier. He's found a safe home, a community around him, and a family that loves him, but it could be that these things are just papering over the cracks. It's no secret that he's done a lot of bad things in his life, no matter what the intention. Before the events of the series, he and Tommy killed innocent people to survive. He slaughtered his way through an army to save Ellie's life, and in the same motion condemned mankind to a future without a cure. And he's taken countless other lives along the way. Abby and her friends are clearly gunning for Joel as retribution for what he did to the Fireflies, and he is being punished by Ellie for saving her. But there is even more than that. Gail admitted that Joel killed her husband, Eugene, the exact details of which weren't confirmed. So even in his therapy sessions, where he looks for guidance and help, he's unable to escape from his past. And up must go to the supermarket sequence as well. It's been shown time and time again that Ellie is about as reckless as they come, thanks in part to her immunity from the cordyceps virus. However, it seems that in the 5-year gap between seasons 1 and 2, she's only gotten worse. While out on patrol, the patrol she practically begged Tommy to put her on, she immediately broke every rule she was given and found herself alone in an abandoned supermarket with an infected. Look, I don't think it's hyperbole to say that this was one of the tensest sequences The Last of Us has ever put out. The infected crept around in the background with Ellie, not noticing it first until finally she tried to confront the monster. This was real horror movie, edge of your seat stuff, and it was utterly compelling. The zombies have been used somewhat sporadically throughout the show to say that it was based in a zombie apocalypse, but this was one of the best infected scenes so far. Like, in a normal one-on-one, as Ellie said, it should have been no problem for her, but it was something different here, which means up to the smarter infected. You got clickers, runners, and bloaters collectively coming together as the 3 groups of infected, and they're incredibly dangerous. Though they've never been particularly difficult to kill, as they can be easily shot in the head or tricked with different noises, they're often so numerous, and you just need one split second to get you. It seems that season 2 is upping the ante on the cordyceps brain to monsters, or some of them at least, by making them smarter. A similar thing was done when Zombieland Double Tap was released, but The Last of Us has done it so much better. Not only did the infected not react blindly to the noises Ellie was making, trying to draw it in for a quick, clean kill, it even set traps for the prey itself. If it was up against anyone but the only immune person in the world, it would have won. Typically, stakes have always had to be higher when a story returns, be it a sequel or a second season, and the evidence is already there that this will be the case with regard to the human antagonists. Typically, throughout season 1, the people trying to kill Ellie and Joel didn't know them, but now there is a very specific target on the latter's back. It's the same with the infected. They're getting smarter and harder to kill. We cannot do this video without giving an up to Pedro Pascal's outstanding performance. I mean, there is a reason why Pedro Pascal is one of the hottest names in the business right now. He's simply exceptional at what he does. He's one of the faces, masks, of Star Wars. He's about to lead not only the Fantastic Four First Steps, but feature in both upcoming Avengers movies, and his work as Joel Miller in season 1 of The Last of Us was rightly highly praised. So, to the surprise of absolutely no one, this carries over into season 2 with yet another outstanding performance in future days, further cementing the fact that the showrunners could not have found a better casting for Joel if they tried. Throughout the entire episode, Pascal put in a strong performance as the aging Joel Miller, his strained relationship with Ellie clearly taking its toll on him. However, it was his conversation with Gail during therapy that he really got to flex his acting muscles for real. In the space of these few minutes, he was funny, he was vulnerable, protective, caring, and stubborn, but in the blink of an eye, he armored everything and with just a change of facial expression, reverted to the hardened and dangerous man that has survived for this long. This was also driven home by Gail's slight flinch as he stood up to walk away, and it needs to be reiterated that these two need more screen time together before the season is done. Now that's everything for our ups and downs for the first episode of season 2, but what did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching along. Are you excited that The Last of Us is back? We want to know. I have been Sean for What Culture. You follow us on all the various socials. We're at What Culture. I'm at Sean Ferry. You can follow me as well. Until I see you again, you are awesome. You are wonderful. Thanks very much.